The music was pounding through the walls before we even walked into the place. I could smell beer, sweat, and too much cologne before the doors even opened. We weren't at some club in Vegas. We were at Gina's damn boxing gym in Oak Park, Illinois, decked out with balloons, banners, and more ego than a pro fight weigh-in. Gina was all smiles, gripping my hand way too tight, like she was dragging me into some photo op. "It's the 1-year anniversary," she kept saying. "My people need to see my husband support me." Like I was a prop. Like this was a red carpet, and I was the accessory that matched her shoes. "I'm Marcus. I'm 39. I live in Oak Park, just outside Chicago. And I hate parties. Especially these fake-ass celebrations full of steroid junkies, fake influencers, and wannabe fighters acting like they're in the UFC. Before we start, how's your day going, and where are you joining from?" She wore this tight red dress. Not classy red, but the kind of red that screamed, "Look at me. I'm expensive and dangerous." She made her rounds, laughing too loud, clinking beers with guys who looked at her like she was the main event. One of them, her assistant coach, I think, had his hand on her lower back longer than I liked. She didn't flinch. I tried to stay out of the way, found a spot near the lockers, and cracked open a flat can of Diet Pepsi I grabbed from a mini fridge in the back. No alcohol for me. Not around these people. One guy was talking about his cutting cycle like he was prepping for the Olympics. Another was filming himself for TikTok while shadowboxing in front of a mirror. I didn't belong there, and Gina knew it. She'd glance my way once in a while, give a wink or a smirk, but it didn't mean anything. I was just background noise in her big night. She wanted to shine, and I was just the dull backdrop to make her sparkle louder. Then I heard her voice. She was standing across the gym, holding court with a group near the ring. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop. Her voice just carried. "I can drop him whenever," she said, laughing. "He's dead weight. Good for paperwork and nothing else." I froze. Everyone laughed. Her assistant coach doubled over. Even her business partner Raul clapped his hands. She didn't look embarrassed. She looked proud. I didn't say a word. Just grabbed my coat off the bench, walked past the punching bags, and pushed through the exit door without looking back. The cold smacked me in the face the second I stepped outside. My coat was thin, and I didn't care. I just kept walking, fast at first, then slower. I didn't have a destination. No plan. Just me and my breath fogging up in the streetlights. My head was buzzing, but I wasn't boiling over like I thought I'd be. I wasn't ready to scream or cry or throw a trash can. I was just sharp, like everything finally clicked into place. Half a mile down, I stopped under a busted street lamp and pulled out my phone. I scrolled through old contacts until I found one I hadn't used in years, Trevor Duke. We used to work together in municipal code enforcement. Back then, we spent most of our time busting people for zoning violations or illegal rentals. Boring stuff, unless you were the one getting fined. Trevor was a smart guy. One of those people who looked lazy but knew the city's insides better than most lawyers. Now he worked in security compliance for athletic licensing. That meant gyms, studios, rings, fight clubs, all of it ran through his office at some point, including Gina's gym. I hit call. "Yo," he answered. "Marcus? Damn, it's been a minute." "Yeah," I said, my voice low. Didn't call to catch up. That got his attention. "All right, what's going on? You still covering West Cook County?" "Yeah." "Why?" "Check the gym's financials. Look into late-night activity logs." There was a pause. "Whose gym?" "You know whose gym." Another pause, longer this time. "Gina's?" "Yeah. Trust me." His tone shifted. The casual tone disappeared. "Marcus, what are you trying to say?" "I'm not saying anything. Just check. If I'm wrong, I'll buy you lunch. And if you're not, then you'll want to talk to your boss before anyone else does." He was quiet again, but I could hear keys tapping. He was already on it. Trevor never needed much of a nudge. He loved chasing shady trails. I didn't have to say the word illegal. He could smell it already. "You serious right now?" he asked, voice lower. "You think something's going on?" "I think she's been playing more than just me." "All right," he said. "Let me dig. I'll call you back tonight." I hung up without saying goodbye and shoved the phone back in my pocket. There was a Dunkin' on the corner, lights still on, chairs flipped on tables. Closed, but I sat on the cold bench outside anyway. Cars rolled by, headlights flashing across my shoes. I sat there for maybe 20 minutes, brain buzzing. Every weird thing over the past year was starting to line up. The closed-door meetings. The sketchy receipts. Her suddenly being flush with cash and acting like she ran Vegas. Trevor texted 10 minutes later. Found something. Gimme time. Then another. What the hell is this woman doing? I smiled, but it wasn't a happy smile. It was tight. Flat. Because this wasn't about her cheating anymore. This was bigger. She didn't just lie to me. She used me. And I'd handed her the pen to do it. I stood up and started walking again. Not toward home. Just moving. I needed air. Needed space. My feet knew the neighborhood better than I did. I cut through alleys and parking lots, past gas stations and shut down strip malls, thinking through every paper I'd ever signed for that gym. Every favor I'd done. Every time she told me, "You're the only one I trust with the boring stuff." The truth was, she didn't trust me. She just knew I wouldn't ask questions. My phone buzzed again. Gonna need to run this through the Monday database. I'll loop you in after. Something smells off. I stopped walking. Leaned against a metal fence behind an empty church. Cold biting through my sleeves. My breath felt thick. Whatever Trevor was about to find, I wasn't sure I wanted to know. But it didn't matter anymore. I'd lit the fuse. Something was coming. And this time, it wasn't going to be some marriage fight we could brush under the rug. This wasn't about love anymore. It was about leverage. I didn't sleep that night. Didn't even try. Just sat at the kitchen table with my phone in front of me, watching the clock and waiting for Trevor to light it up. First ping came at 1:42 a.m. Did you know she logged 3 a.m. facility use on Sundays? I stared at it for a second. Sundays? That gym was supposed to be closed on Sundays. She always said it was reset day for her trainers. Family day. But 3 a.m.? That wasn't training. That was something else. 5 minutes later, her gym got flagged last fall. Internal notes said, possible unlicensed fighting events. Nothing came of it. Got buried. Then another. Bank statements don't match her reported income. Not even close. I rubbed my eyes and leaned back in the chair. My heart wasn't racing, not yet. It was that sick, sinking feeling you get when you realize the car you're driving doesn't have brakes. Cash-heavy deposits, weird transfers, names blacked out. She's got layers, man. I texted back. What's she doing, Trevor? It took him a few minutes, then. There's talk about private sparring events. Invite only. No licenses, no records, no taxes. Betting cash only. High-stakes shit. I dropped my phone on the table and stared at the ceiling. This wasn't cheating. This wasn't some dumb affair with her assistant coach. This was criminal. And I'd signed half the paperwork that kept the lights on. I started going over old memories like a movie reel. The time she told me to just sign this, it's for equipment. The months when the numbers didn't make sense, but she brushed it off as cash flow quirks. The late nights where she said she had strategy meetings. Yeah, right. She'd used me. Not just emotionally. On paper, I wasn't her husband. I was her liability shield. Phone buzzed again. Got a guy at zoning. He says there've been noise complaints on weekend nights. Nothing official, all anonymous. But it lines up. And then, you ever notice that her business partner Raul doesn't have his name on anything either? All of it's under yours. My blood turned to ice. Every signature, every insurance form, every emergency contact, tax document, and fire inspection. She'd set me up from day one. I got up, started pacing the kitchen. My legs felt tight, like I needed to run but had nowhere to go. I opened the fridge, closed it. Didn't even register what was in there. My hands were shaking, and I didn't even notice till I knocked over a glass on the counter. She made me the fall guy. That's what burned the most. I could have handled betrayal. Hell, people cheat every day. But this was strategic. Planned. She wore that red dress and laughed about dropping me like trash, but in her head, I was already holding the bag. And the worst part? I made it easy. I trusted her. I didn't ask questions. I let her have the business in her name for the brand, even though the actual ownership and liabilities were mine. Because I loved her. Because she said, "You handle the boring stuff, you're good at it." What she meant was, "You'll never look close enough to see what I'm hiding." Trevor's last text came at 3:17 a.m. We need to talk soon. This goes deeper than I thought. I stared at that message until the screen dimmed. I wasn't just the joke she made at a party. I was the idiot husband she wrapped in legal tape and pointed toward the explosion, just in case it all blew up. And now, it was my turn to do something about it. By sunrise, I'd stopped pacing. Just sat back at the table, jaw tight, fingers locked, staring at nothing. I needed more than texts and theories. I needed proof. Documents. Signatures. The kind of stuff that holds up when everything starts collapsing. So I called Erica Dale. She used to be a paralegal at the firm that handled the gym's startup paperwork. Sharp as hell. No filter. Back then, she'd walk me through forms and mutter under her breath about how Gina loved being in charge, but hated doing the reading. I hadn't spoken to her in over a year, but I still had her number saved. She picked up on the second ring. This is Erica. Hey, it's Marcus. Marcus Landon. Long pause. Well, damn. Thought you were dead. Not yet. She laughed. Same dry laugh I remembered. I need your help, I said. Quietly. You in trouble? No, but I think Gina is. Another pause. That tracks. I cut to it. Back when we opened the gym, you remember what I signed. You're gonna have to be more specific. Ownership paperwork. Liability stuff. Anything tied to licenses or insurance. She didn't hesitate. Yeah, I remember. Because you were the only one who read any of it. What was in it? You actually have full control, she said. Her name's on nothing. Business license, lease agreement, tax filings, all under you. I didn't respond. Just sat there listening to the buzzing in my ears. You didn't know that? She asked. I didn't remember it like that. Well, it's true. Gina played like she was CEO, but legally, she's just a loud tenant. I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. Then, can you help me pull copies of everything? I need files, licenses, payment records, surveillance logs if possible. Planning a quiet exit or a loud one. Just gathering info. For now. She clicked her tongue. All right, but you'll owe me something later. I'll owe you dinner and a strong drink. Make it 2 drinks, she said. I always thought Gina was performing a role. You know? Big energy, big talk, but never doing the work. I remember how she acted in those meetings, like she was auditioning for a reality show. I didn't say anything. Then she said, You're not the first person to catch on. You're just the last. That one stung more than it should have. I'd been sleeping next to the fraud, eating dinner with her, smiling for Instagram like a clown. And all this time, people around us saw the truth. They just figured I didn't want to. Erica texted me 5 minutes later with a cloud folder link. Start here. Let me know what else you need. I opened it up, and there it was, a whole pile of sloppiness. Invoices labeled event costs with no vendor names. Camera logs with hours redacted. Bank transfer records that showed thousands in cash moving in and out of the gym account with no explanation. She hadn't even tried to cover it well. For someone who thought she was untouchable, Gina was careless. Or maybe she just thought no one would ever look that close. Especially not me. I downloaded everything. Created backups. External drives. Cloud mirror. All of it. This wasn't just about building a case anymore. It was about taking back control from someone who never should have had it in the first place. I was still sorting files when the group text invite came through. Saturday night. Main floor. Invite only. Let's make this one huge. Gee, she didn't even hide it anymore. That red dress confidence had bled into everything she did. No caution. No subtlety. Just pure ego. I forwarded the message to Trevor. He texted back. Perfect. We're coming in mid-event. Don't be there. So I wasn't. Saturday night, I parked 3 blocks away, watching from inside my truck with the heat barely on. The gym was glowing like a damn arena. Lights blazing, music thumping through the block. Guys with backpacks were walking in, nodding to someone at the door. Cars lined the street like a club opening. No banners, no flyers, just word of mouth, and a lot of cash. She called it a sparring showcase. But I knew exactly what it was. Betting tables were set up near the ring. I could see the crowd moving in waves through the front window. Most were standing, plastic cups in hand, bills getting exchanged. The fighters were shirtless and taped up. No headgear. This wasn't training. Then came the moment I'd been waiting for. A black city SUV pulled up, lights off. Trevor got out with a clipboard and that cocky little walk he'd always had in the field. Next to him, a city inspector. Behind them, 2 Oak Park cops. I cracked the window and listened. Trevor didn't yell. He didn't flash a badge. He walked in like he owned the place and handed someone a notice at the front table. I couldn't hear the exact words, but I saw the switch flip. The music cut. The lights snapped on full. Then came the shouting. Inside, people started moving fast, grabbing bags, ducking outside doors, flipping over chairs. 2 guys tried to push past the cops, but got blocked. One of them got cuffed on the spot. I saw one of the trainers yelling at the inspector, But it didn't matter. They were swarming the place now. And there she was, Gina, standing near the center ring with her arms folded, trying to play calm. I knew that face. It was her I got this face. Only she didn't. Trevor walked up with the inspector and a cop flanking him. I couldn't hear the words, but I saw her mouth moving, smiling at first, shrugging. Then the inspector said something and pointed to the office door. That's when her eyes changed. She said something sharp, pointed, fast. Her hands came up. She turned toward Raul, her business partner, but he didn't even look at her. He just stared at the floor. Trevor took out a folder, slid it across the desk inside the office window. Gina looked down, then back up. I could see her mouth the word. What? Then she snapped. I mean full meltdown. She started shouting, loud enough I could hear her from the truck with the windows halfway up. She was calling people names, accusing Trevor of harassment, yelling about how this was just training, that everyone signs waivers, and Raul's a lying snake. A phone came out. Then another. People were filming now. She shoved a folding chair, screamed at one of the cops, tried to grab her phone off the front desk and storm out, but they blocked her path. Then I saw Raul finally speak. Just a short sentence, but it shut her up. Her mouth dropped open. She turned red, then white. And then she looked around, really looked. All the cameras, all the witnesses, and her name, tied to every inch of it. She tried to walk it back, said things like, this was blown out of proportion, and my lawyer will handle this. But no one cared. They were already done with her. The damage was live. Within 2 hours, someone uploaded a clip of her rant to a local boxing forum. I watched it from my phone in the parking lot. There she was, screaming about snakes and jealous losers, stumbling over her words, face flushed and wild-eyed. Comment section blew up. Isn't that the gym that got flagged last year? Why is she screaming if she's innocent? Oak Park Fight Club just got exposed. I didn't comment. Didn't share it. Didn't need to. The internet was already doing what it does best, tear down the queen they once propped up. And she gave them the match and the gas can all by herself. By midnight, she was in panic mode. My phone lit up nonstop, not from her, but from mutual friends and old gym members texting screenshots. Gina was calling everyone she knew. Trainers, sponsors, clients, even my cousin, who she always said was too boring to talk to. Now she needed anyone who'd listen. Didn't matter. The video had already done the work. By morning, she was trending. Someone pulled old clips from her gym's YouTube. Over-edited promos, clips of fighters throwing slow punches, a few conveniently timed knockouts. A former fighter reposted one of the rants from last year's tournament, captioned, "Now you believe me?" Comments exploded. She never paid me for 2 fights. Told me I was too average to refund after she dropped me. I did camera work for her and never saw a dime. And those were the polite ones. I didn't say anything publicly. Didn't need to. The people who'd been around her long enough already knew the truth. They were just finally brave enough to say it now that the mask was off. By 8 a.m., I was moving out. Most of my stuff had already been boxed. I'd packed it quietly, little by little, over the last few weeks. Just in case. When you live with a liar, you start preparing exits without even realizing it. I loaded the last 2 duffels into my truck, then changed the locks. Every door. Garage code, too. I froze the business accounts, canceled all auto transfers, and filed formal notice with the licensing board. Everything done by the book. She still hadn't come home. Around 10:30, I was in the kitchen finishing coffee when I heard keys rattling. The front door jiggled once. Then again. Then harder. A pause. Then 3 hard knocks. I walked over but didn't open it. I just waited. Another knock. Louder. Then her voice. "Marcus? What the hell? Why doesn't my key work?" I didn't respond. She banged again. "I live here. What is this?" I waited until the sound stopped. I watched through the peephole. She stepped back from the door, looked down at her phone like she was texting someone, then looked around like maybe she'd woken up in the wrong universe. And in a way, she had. She didn't live here anymore. Not in my space. Not under my roof. Not on my name. She tried the door one more time, softer this time. No yelling. No drama. Just one last turn of the knob, like she couldn't believe it was real. Then she walked back to her car. No tears. No speech. Just silence. Didn't take long for her to find a way back in. An hour later, I was in the living room going over final banking transfers when I heard the door swing open behind me. She came in fast, shouting before I even turned around. Really, Marcus? This is how you do me? Change the locks? Shut me out like I'm some stranger? I looked up. One of our neighbors, Ellen from 2 houses down, was standing awkwardly in the hallway behind her. Gina must have followed her through the side gate when she walked her dog. Ellen caught my eye like sorry and dipped out quick. Gina slammed the door behind her. You think this fixes anything? She shouted. You think locking me out undoes everything I built? I didn't flinch, just stood up slow and grabbed the folder off the coffee table. She kept pacing, hands flailing like she was on stage. I gave my whole life to this. My name's everywhere. I'm the face of that gym, of this house. You owe me. You owe me, Marcus. I handed her the folder. She didn't take it. What is this? She snapped. Proof, I said. The house. Not yours. I filed the property transfer. The business? Dissolved this morning. The accounts? Frozen, split, and clean. She laughed. You can't just erase me. You were never legally part of it. That shut her up. Her mouth hung open, but nothing came out. I set the folder down on the coffee table. I filed for separation 2 days ago, I said. You're being served today. She blinked, like her brain couldn't keep up. Wait, what? You'll get the paperwork in an hour. Her arms dropped to her sides. Her voice got small. You're leaving me? I didn't answer that. I pulled out my phone, opened the audio file, and hit play. Her voice filled the room. Loud, clear, no static. That moment at the gym, her laughing, saying she could drop me any time, that I was good for paperwork and nothing else. The laughter around her, the clink of glasses, every word sharp as a blade. She covered her mouth. Where did you get that? She asked, backing toward the wall. You recorded me? No, I said. You recorded yourself. I just saved it. She sank to the floor, hands still over her mouth, shoulders slumped like she finally saw it all for what it was. Not just the consequences, but the cause. I stood there watching her, arms crossed. No yelling, no speech. She sat against the wall, staring at the rug like it might swallow her whole. There was nothing left to argue. I had the facts. I had the file. And now, I had my exit. She was still sitting against the wall when her phone started ringing. She didn't even look at it. Just sat there, arms limp, face blank. It rang again. And again. I finally picked it up off the floor and turned the screen toward her. Your mom, I said. She hesitated, then took it with a shaky hand. Put it on speaker without saying a word. Her mom's voice exploded through the room. What the hell did you do, Gina? What the hell did you do? I stayed standing. She curled tighter against the wall like she was bracing for impact. You dragged our name through the dirt. You lied. You cheated. You got yourself on every goddamn news feed in this state. Gina finally opened her mouth, but nothing came out. ICO signed those startup loans, her mom yelled. Remember that? When nobody else would touch you. You said it was legit. You promised. Gina whispered. I didn't think. That's right, her mom cut in. You didn't. You never think. You perform. You lie. You smile for the camera and let someone else take the hit. She paused, then the voice dropped, still sharp, but slower now. You always thought Marcus was dumb because he was quiet. I didn't move. Neither did Gina. Turns out, her mom said, he was the only one paying attention. The call ended. No goodbye, no forgiveness, just silence. Gina sat there holding the phone like it was a weapon that went off in her hand. I walked past her, opened the front door. You should go, I said. She didn't argue, just stood up slowly, legs stiff, eyes distant. We stepped outside. The morning was gray, wet heat rising off the driveway, the kind that makes your shirt cling before noon. She stood on the porch, blinking like the world looked different now. She didn't say a word, just sat down on the top step and held her face in both hands. No more yelling, no rage, just a woman who finally realized the fire she started had eaten through everything. She stayed there as I locked the door behind me. I didn't sleep at the house that night. Drove straight to the studio apartment I'd signed the lease for a week earlier. Nothing fancy. One room, one window, one stiff mattress, and a tiny kitchen that smelled like old tile and burnt eggs. But it was mine, and it was quiet. By mid-morning, the internet was already eating her alive. A local fight blogger out of Berwyn got his hands on the party video and paired it with the gym bust footage. Posted it with the headline, Fight Club Queen Falls Hard, Illegal Events, Public Meltdown, Fraud Allegations. It hit MMA Twitter first, then spread to YouTube like wildfire. Clips popped up everywhere. One had her screaming, "This is legitimate business," while shoving a clipboard off a table. Another had a slowed-down loop of her calling me dead weight, with fake laugh tracks dubbed over. Someone edited a fake ESPN-style segment, complete with commentary and freeze frames. The MMA subreddit pinned a thread that just said, "Oak Park Boxing Gym goes down in flames. Ex-owner spills it all." People ran wild with it. They started digging. Pulled up her old posts, sponsorships, interviews. Found contradictions. Fake numbers. Canceled partnerships. Even gym owners in other cities chimed in. We considered licensing her for a women's fight series. Not anymore. She messaged me last year pitching a business collab. Dodged a bullet. By the time I made coffee around noon, it had hit TikTok. People stitched her clips with their own stories. Former clients. Ex-trainers. One woman cried on camera talking about how Gina promised her a title shot and then ghosted after she got hurt mid-fight. Another guy showed screenshots of invoices that were never paid. She wasn't just a mess, she was a warning now. I sat on the edge of the bed, coffee in hand, watching it all from my phone like I was viewing a documentary about someone I used to know. Then Trevor texted. Confirmed. State suspended her license indefinitely. Under investigation for tax fraud, insurance abuse, unlicensed events, and false documentation. I replied, "She's done." He didn't respond. Didn't need to. She'd built a brand on image, speed, hype. No foundation. No safety net. Once the face cracked, the whole thing collapsed in record time. And no one was coming to save her. There were no statements from lawyers. No spin. No PR recovery attempt. Just a dead silence from her side while the world kept dragging her name through digital concrete. I got a call from one of our old friends, Brandon, who used to lift at the gym back in the early days. He didn't even ask how I was doing. Just said, "Bro, you were right. She's radioactive now." I wouldn't touch her name with gloves on. I finished my coffee and muted my phone. I didn't need to see it all play out in real time. I didn't need the likes, the comments, the DMs saying, "Good for you, man." This wasn't revenge. This was correction. She pulled the string. I just stepped out of the way and let the knot tighten. And now, the world she built on flash and fake smiles was burning. Fast, loud, and very, very public. A week later, I took a different route back from the studio, just to see it for myself. The gym sat quiet on the corner like it had never been alive. Windows papered up. Sign gone. No music, no lights, no idiots filming punching combos. Just dead space and a faded parking lot with oil stains and cigarette butts. Then I saw her. Gina stood on the curb with a plastic storage bin hugged tight against her chest. Her hair was pulled back messy, like she hadn't slept, hadn't eaten. She wore old sweats, sneakers untied, just frozen there. Like if she moved, everything might break in half. She didn't notice me at first. I was sitting in my truck at the light across the street, one hand on the wheel, the other still holding my half-drunk coffee. Then she looked up, saw me. We locked eyes. No gesture, no flinch. She didn't mouth anything, didn't wave, just stared like she was trying to figure out if I was real or a ghost she'd summoned from her own wreckage. And I didn't smile, didn't shake my head or give her that "I told you so" look. I had no interest in being right anymore. I just let the light turn green, pressed my foot to the gas, and drove. Didn't check the rear view, didn't care what she did next. There wasn't any rage left in me. That fire had burned out days ago. Now it was just cold, clean distance, like the kind that comes after a storm clears and all that's left is wet ground and broken branches. She used to call me steady, reliable. Turns out, she had no idea what steady really looked like when it decided to move on.